Emily Thompson had only stepped away for a minute, just long enough to rinse a plate at the kitchen sink. Her 17-month-old daughter, Lily, was in the backyard with her new dog, Ranger, a German shepherd they had adopted only a few days earlier. Emily turned back toward the window, ready to smile at the sight of her daughter playing with their furry companion, but what she saw froze her in place. Ranger was shoving Lily. At first, Emily thought she was imagining it. Maybe they were playing, but no. Ranger's movements were forceful, desperate. Lily's tiny body tumbled backward onto the grass and lay completely still. Time stopped. Emily's heart leapt into her throat. The dish slipped from her hands and shattered in the sink. Panic surged like a tidal wave as she flung the door open and sprinted outside, screaming Ranger's name. And then came the moment that nearly broke her. Ranger grabbed Lily by the diaper and flung her across the yard like a rag doll. Emily screamed louder than she ever had in her life. Her legs nearly gave out beneath her. Every horror story she'd ever read about dog attacks crashed into her mind at once. How could she have trusted this dog? How could she have left her baby alone? But just as she reached Lily and scooped her into her arms, she saw something that changed everything. Ranger wasn't charging toward them. He was stumbling, and then he collapsed. Just a few weeks earlier, life in the Thompson household had been quieter, comfortable, predictable. Emily Thompson, an elementary school teacher in Eugene, Oregon, was raising her bright, curious daughter alongside her husband David, a work-from-home software engineer. Life was good, but something felt missing. They'd talked about having another baby, but the timing didn't feel right. So one evening, Emily suggested something else, something smaller, yet just as meaningful. What if we got a dog? Not a playful puppy from a breeder Emily wanted to adopt. She wanted Lily to grow up with a companion who also needed love, maybe even healing. It'll teach her empathy, Emily said, and responsibility. David hesitated. A rescue dog around a toddler? It worried him. Trauma, unpredictability, behavioral issues, but Emily reassured him they'd be careful, thoughtful. They wouldn't adopt just any dog, they'd find the right one. After weeks of visiting shelters, they found him. A large German shepherd with kind eyes and a cautious demeanor. His name was Ranger. He had scars, both visible and invisible. He had endured more than most people ever would, but when he looked at Lily during their first visit, something in him shifted. Soft, almost protective. Emily felt it too. Something unspoken passed between them. Hope, maybe? Or trust. It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like fate. Ranger wasn't like the other dogs. Most barked and wagged their tails trying to get attention, but Ranger sat still in the corner of his kennel, silent, watching, like he was waiting for someone to earn his trust. The shelter staff explained. Ranger had been surrendered by his previous owner, someone who tried to train him as a guard dog but ended up abusing him. He arrived underweight, showing signs of physical and emotional trauma. They weren't sure if he'd ever fully recover? David raised an eyebrow. A traumatized German shepherd? Around Lily? Emily stayed quiet, watching Ranger, noticing how he didn't react to the chaos around him, how he looked at her, not aggressive but tired, as if to say, well, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. Staff reassured them. He had never shown aggression, not even during treatment. Wary, yes, but gentle. Emily knelt by the kennel. Ranger stepped forward slowly. Their eyes met. He didn't lick her hand, didn't wag his tail. He simply placed one paw against the gate, and somehow that was enough. He just needs a second chance, Emily whispered. David still had doubts, but he trusted her instincts. They always served their family well. That afternoon they signed the papers and brought Ranger home. He didn't bark during the car ride. He just lay in the back seat, resting his head beside Lily's car seat, still, quiet, not as a guard dog, perhaps as a guardian. His arrival was quiet. No excitement, no chaos. Just cautious steps across the threshold of his new life. Emily had prepared everything, a dog bed, toys, food, but Ranger ignored them. He wandered the house, sniffing the corners, memorizing each detail. No whining, no growling, no tail wagging. David kept a close eye, especially when Lily was near. "We can't be too careful," he reminded her, often. And she agreed. In those first few days they never left Ranger alone with Lily. If she toddled toward him, one of them was right there. To his credit, Ranger never made a single threatening move. He simply lay down and watched her, quiet, curious. Lily, of course, was enchanted. She didn't see scars or hesitation, only a big, fluffy friend. She'd pat him gently, sometimes trying to climb over him. He never flinched, just sat there like a statue, letting her be close. Emily started noticing the small things, how he sat between Lily and the front door during storms, how his ears twitched at every unfamiliar sound, how he followed Lily's every movement, not like prey, but like purpose. Still, Emily never fully relaxed. Trauma is tricky. Even the gentlest dog can be unpredictable. But Ranger looked at Lily with something she couldn't deny, not confusion, not indifference, focus, loyalty. She didn't say it aloud, but in her heart, she believed maybe Ranger wasn't the only one healing. Maybe he was helping them heal too. The day started like any other. Emily had just put on a pot of coffee. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the dishwasher and Lily's soft giggles drifting in from the yard. Ranger was out there with her, watching, guarding, playing. Emily glanced out the window while rinsing Lily's cup. The sky was blue as a postcard. Lily held a bright red ball wobbling across the lawn. Ranger trotted beside her. It was peaceful, almost perfect. And then something shifted. A strange silence fell over the yard, the kind that doesn't belong in a scene with a toddler. Emily squinted through the glass. Ranger wasn't beside Lily anymore. He was lunging, not playfully, not with excitement, with urgency. His body was rigid, head low, ears back. He slammed into Lily with his shoulder, knocking her over. Emily's breath caught. Lily didn't get up. A chill swept through her. Why would Ranger do that? Then he did it again, nudging Lily with his nose, hard, trying to roll her, but Lily didn't move. She wasn't crying. She wasn't moving. Emily dropped the cup. It shattered in the sink. And then Ranger grabbed Lily by the diaper and flung her. Emily screamed, loud, primal. Her legs gave out just for a second, before adrenaline kicked in. She bolted through the screen door and ran, heart pounding so loud she couldn't hear her own steps. 1,000 thoughts screamed in her head. I knew this could happen. He was too damaged. I never should have trusted him. She reached Lily in seconds, knees hitting the ground hard, hands trembling. She called her name over and over, patting her down, searching for blood, bites, bruises. But there was nothing. Lily whimpered. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed, but alert, a scratch on her cheek, torn diaper, her spare, grass-stained shirt, but breathing, alive. Emily didn't know whether to cry or collapse. She wrapped Lily tightly in her arms, whispering her name over and over, and then another thought cut through the chaos. Ranger. She turned, braced herself to see a monster, but instead, she saw a fallen hero. Ranger lay still in the grass. His chest rose and fell in short, uneven bursts. Drool dripped from his mouth. His front paw curled against his chest, twitching. He didn't lift his head. Emily's eyes darted across the world, and then she saw it, a flicker of color where Ranger had been moments earlier. Red, yellow, black, slithering. A coral snake. Emily gasped. She knew those colors. Red on yellow, kill a fellow. One of the most venomous snakes in North America, and it had been inches from Lily. Suddenly, everything made sense. Ranger hadn't gone wild. He hadn't attacked. He had reacted. He had intervened. He had seen the danger before she ever did. While she stood safely inside, Ranger had been outside, risking everything. Emily clutched Lily tighter, tears streaming down her face. Ranger had saved her daughter, not in the way fairy tales promise, but in the way only the brave do, with instinct, with sacrifice, with love. She replayed every motion, the shove, the push, the throw, desperate, frantic attempts to get Lily out of danger, and now the price he'd paid. She crawled to him, careful not to scare him, but he didn't move. His eyes fluttered, half-conscious. His breathing slowed. His bitten paw was already swelling. "Oh, God," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You weren't hurting her. You were saving her." And I thought, her guilt washed over her in waves. She had doubted him. She had feared him. And yet, Ranger had done what no one else could. He'd protected her daughter, even as venom coursed through his body. Now, it was her turn to protect him. Emily didn't remember standing up. One moment she was on her knees in the grass, clutching Lily with one arm and staring at Ranger's limp body. The next, she was running, no, sprinting, into the house. Her heart pounded so loudly, it drowned out every thought but one. He's dying. I have to save him. She kissed Lily's forehead, her voice shaking as she whispered, "Stay here, baby. I'll be back. And I'll bring him back, too." Then she grabbed her car keys, her phone, a beach towel, anything she could find to help move a 100-pound German shepherd. Back in the yard, Ranger hadn't moved. His breathing was shallow, his body warm, too warm. The swelling in his paw had worsened in just minutes. She knew venom worked fast. Minutes, not hours. His time was vanishing right in front of her. Emily crouched beside him and spoke softly. "I know it hurts, but you have to help me. Please." But Ranger didn't respond. So she did something she never imagined she could do. With every ounce of strength in her body, and strength she didn't know she had, Emily rolled Ranger onto the towel and dragged him toward the car. Her muscles burned, her arms shook, but adrenaline made her unstoppable. She heaved him into the trunk of the SUV, slammed the hatch shut, and jumped into the driver's seat. Her hands trembled on the wheel. She hadn't even put shoes on. She floored the gas. Speed limits, red lights, stop signs. None of them mattered now. "You saved her," she cried out. "I'm going to save you." The emergency vet clinic was 10 miles away. Every second felt like an hour. When she skidded into the parking lot, a vet tech ran out before she could even open the trunk. One look at Ranger's swollen leg and glassy eyes was enough. They rushed him inside. Emily stood outside the doors, chest heaving, knees buckling. She'd done everything she could. Now all she could do was wait. The clinic doors swung shut behind the vet techs as they disappeared with Ranger on a rolling stretcher. Emily stood frozen in the parking lot, her hands still gripping the edge of the car door. Her chest was tight. Her eyes burned. She hadn't realized she was holding her breath until she exhaled, shaky and uneven. Inside, the receptionist spoke softly, offered her a seat, even a glass of water. But Emily couldn't sit, not yet. Her legs wouldn't stop pacing, her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She kept hearing Lily's laughter in her mind, followed by the silence, followed by Ranger's collapse. Time felt meaningless. Minutes dragged into hours. The vet came out once to say they had administered anti-venom and were monitoring Ranger closely. His vitals were weak. The next 12 hours were critical. That was it. No guarantees, no reassurances. Eventually, Emily drove home alone. Lily was asleep when she arrived, unaware of the storm her mother had just weathered. David held her in his arms at the doorway, his expression filled with questions Emily couldn't answer. She collapsed into his embrace, letting the tears finally fall. They sat in silence for most of the night. Emily didn't speak much. She just stared at the ceiling, her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. Every vibration, every buzz. Her heart jumped, but none of them were the call. At one point she tiptoed into Lily's room. The nightlight cast soft shadows over her daughter's face. Peaceful, safe, all because of him. She sat on the floor beside the crib and whispered, "He didn't just protect you, Lily. He chose you. He gave everything without hesitation, and I almost didn't trust him." The guilt crept in again, sharp and relentless. She'd doubted Ranger, misjudged him, feared him, but he hadn't flinched, not when it mattered. As dawn broke through the curtains, Emily's phone finally rang. She held her breath as she answered, her voice barely audible. "Hello?" It was the veterinarian. And this time, the tone was different. "Emily, he made it. Ranger's stable." Her knees gave out. A sob escaped her lips. Relief crashed into her like a wave. He made it. The hero lived. When Ranger came home that evening, the house felt different. He was weak. His steps were shaky. The bandage on his paw was thick and clumsy, but the moment he stepped through the door, Lily let out a squeal of joy and toddled straight toward him, arms wide. "Ray, Ray!" she called out. Ranger lowered himself to the floor, allowing her to collapse gently into his side. He didn't have the strength to lift his head, but his tail thumped. Just once. That was enough. Emily stood silently by the doorway watching them. The weight of the past 24 hours pressed heavily on her chest. Relief, guilt, gratitude, all tangled into something she couldn't name. She knelt beside him, ran her fingers gently through his fur, and whispered, "I'm so sorry I didn't see you for who you really were, but I see you now." That night she sat with Ranger as he rested. Lily had fallen asleep on a blanket next to him, her tiny hand resting on his back. David took a photo of them, but no one said much. Words felt too small for a moment like this. In the days that followed, the story spread. Neighbors, friends, even local news picked it up. People called Ranger a hero, a miracle dog. Emily agreed, but not for the reasons they thought. To her, Ranger's heroism wasn't just about the snake or the bite. It was about trust. He had every reason not to trust people. He had been hurt, abandoned, mistreated. And yet, when the moment came, he didn't hesitate to protect one of them. He chose love over fear, and that, Emily realized, was the real lesson. Sometimes the ones we fear the most are the ones most willing to protect us. And sometimes healing doesn't come from fixing others, but from being willing to open our hearts again. As Ranger slept peacefully beside her daughter, Emily whispered one last thing. "You didn't just save her life, you saved mine too." If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.